legislation when it comes before the floor of the House. Thank you.
I call the honourable member Carol Beaumont.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. This is a very interesting bill that we're speaking on tonight, not least of which because of the procedural matters associated with it, which, of course, my colleagues Charles Chauvel and the Honourable Rick Barker have outlined to us. And it is quite interesting. They're in a situation where we're suspending standing orders so that we can basically adopt the amendments set out in Supplementary Order Paper 202 as amended by Supplementary Order Paper 242. And, of course, this is on the Courts and Criminal Matters Bill. And this is obviously, listening to previous speakers and looking at the bill, a very sensible and overdue bill, a bill that makes a number of changes which will assist in making sure that our fine system is dealt with appropriately. It will enhance the district court's powers and processes for the collection of fines and other monetary penalties and civil debt. And it arose really from general concern about the amount of overdue fines, which is quite staggering, and the dissatisfaction of victims when offenders do not comply with reparation orders, and the frustration of creditors and debtors using the court's civil debt enforcement processes. So that was the underlying reason for the bill, and those are all very good reasons. And indeed, as my colleague Rick Barker has said, it is a shame it's taken so long for this to pass, and it was something that was well underway when Labor left government. In fact, I was quite pleased to see in the commentary on the bill that it actually says this bill, the development of which commenced under the previous government, represents the most comprehensive legislative improvements for the recovery of unpaid fines, reparation and civil debt in 12 years. So a substantial piece of work, and you know, my congratulations to all concerned, because I think it is long overdue. And I think it is good that the work of the previous government was acknowledged in the commentary there. So this is a bill where I think we're also showing, as Rick Barker said, that where there is a matter that is sensible and is in the best interests of the public, that this side of the House are not just going to be oppositional for the point of being oppositional. Hence, we are cooperating and we are voting in favour and supporting the incorporation of the two supplementary order papers 202 and 244. And I think it's important to think about that and to think about the times that this House should cooperate and should actually do the right thing when there is legislation or opportunities to pass legislation that everybody would see in the best interests of the community. And an example I'd like to put on the table is the example of loan sharks, an issue that many in the House will be concerned about, I know, and one that I brought a bill before the House nearly a year ago now, one that was initially put into the ballot by Charles Chauvel and then picked up by myself. And that was a sensible bill. It was a bill that actually was dealing with something that we would all agree is a problem in the community. It continues to be a problem in the community, and in the last day or so we've seen a new dimension to that. That's text loan sharks. One that's absolutely horrendous, where people can get loans of up to $600 in 4 minutes, with interest rates going as high as 678%. Now, the bill that was before the House a year ago could have put paid to that provision. Actually, we would have had the tools to deal with that text loan shark situation.
Order. Can I just say to the member that it's a procedural debate and it's wide-ranging, but it has to be wide-ranging in relation to that moved by the Honourable Minister.
Okay, well, I think the point I was really making is that we are supporting this bill and the procedural motion before us because it is common sense, it is good legislation, and it's in the interests of society, and that's why we're going that way, Mr Speaker. Anyway, we're going back to the matter before us. Others have talked about the piecemeal approach to reforms in the justice sector, and I've recently gone on to the Justice and Electoral Select Committee, and certainly submitters coming to that Select Committee have made a similar point, there is a lot of concern that while there's a lot of different pieces of legislation floating about and being undertaken, there's a real concern that they're not being looked at as a comprehensive whole. So I say that by way of really reinforcing the points that my colleague Charles Chauvel made earlier. Now, the actual supplementary order papers that we're talking about, my colleague Charles Chauvel went through some of the detail, but Supplementary Order Paper 202 makes a number of substantial drafting and technical changes to the bill, and they include the consolidation of statutory provisions, processes and powers relating to the enforcement of fines and reparation, through to things like updating and aligning the property forfeiture regimes by amending the Criminal Proceeds Recovery Act 2009 and the Misuse of Drugs Act 1975. Supplementary Order Paper 244 also makes some drafting and technical changes to the Supplementary Order Paper 202, but in addition includes changes relating to the power of parking wardens, owner liability for stationary vehicle offences, issue of infringement notice and discharge of assets forfeiture order by the official assignee. Now, the actual bills that are being effectively incorporated into the Courts and Criminal Matters Bill by what we're doing here are the Crimes Act 1961, the Criminal Proceeds Recovery Act 2009, the Disputes Tribunal Act 1988, the Misuse of Drugs Act 1975, the Misuse of Drugs Amendment Act 1978, and the Residential Tenancies Act 1986. So they will be incorporated alongside the other acts that are already in the Courts and Criminal Matters Bill, which are the District Courts Act 1947, the Land Transport Act 1998, the amendments to the Summary Proceedings Act 1957, the Children, Young Persons and Their Families Act 1989, the Customs and Excise Act 1996, the Family Courts Act 1980, Immigration Act 1987, Immigration Act 2009, Personal Property Security Act 1999, Prisoners and Victims Claims Act 2005, Privacy Act 1993, Railways Act 2005, Sentencing Act 2002, Social Security Act 1964, Tax Administration Act 1994 and the Transport Act 1962. My colleague Sue Moroney is just commenting that of course there might be an opportunity here for me to mention railway and the link between Hamilton and Auckland that is much awaited by the fine citizens of Hamilton. So what I'm really pointing to there, Mr Speaker, is that there are a number of bills that were already included into the Courts and Criminal Matters Bill, which, as I said, is something that we have been awaiting for some time and we support. And with these two supplementary order papers, we add in quite a significant number of other bills. Effectively, as the Minister said in introducing this to the House tonight, what this is really about is aligning and standardising court enforcement powers. And I think the Honourable Rick Barker did quite a good job earlier in talking about why that's important and how that will hopefully practically improve the operation of our criminal justice system and actually give some confidence both to those who are victims expecting reparation and also that we actually carry through with fines, because there's actually nothing sillier than basically giving fines for particular offences and then those fines being completely ignored. And in many cases that has been the case. And I'm sure other colleagues will want to talk a little bit about, for example, how this piece of legislation will be used in terms of fines under the Land Transport Act, for example, and I'm sure that we will get to hear how that will be working, but I'll leave that to others to comment on, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker.
I call the